Most people who get blindsided at work spend hours afterward replaying what they should have said. But here is the uncomfortable truth. The moment was already decided in the first sentence you spoke. Not your third sentence, not your comeback 2 minutes in. The very first thing out of your mouth told every single person in that room who was in control. And if you said the wrong thing, even once, even with the best intentions, you handed that power away without even knowing it. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you exactly how to keep it. I am Dre, and for the past several years, I have spent my time helping professionals in corporate environments hold their standing, protect their reputation, and navigate the moments that actually define careers. Not the big presentations, not the performance reviews. The moments when someone catches you off guard in a meeting, in front of your peers, in front of leadership, and tries to make something stick to your name. Today, I am going to give you the exact sentence that recalibrates the room the second it leaves your mouth, along with the two lines that follow it up, and the psychological reason each one works on a level that most people in your workplace will never understand. But first, I want you to think about what your body actually does when someone puts you on the spot in public. There is a split second, maybe less, between the moment someone calls you out and the moment you respond. And in that gap, everything is happening at once. Your heart rate spikes, your thoughts scatter, and your instincts, the ones that feel so natural and so right, will almost always push you in exactly the wrong direction. Here is why. When you defend yourself immediately, the room reads it as panic. When you start explaining, the room treats it as confession. When your voice gets faster, people hear fear, not innocence. When you match the other person's energy and get heated, you lose the frame entirely because now the situation is emotional, and emotional means unpredictable, and unpredictable means untrustworthy. Your instincts in that moment are working against you. Every natural impulse, the urge to justify yourself, to correct the record, to prove them wrong right now, pulls your status down in real time in front of everyone watching. There is also something worth understanding about the audience in that room, because the audience matters as much as the attacker. The people watching are not neutral. They are making a judgment, and the judgment is not about who is right. It is about who looks like they belong in a position of authority. Status in group settings is not assigned. It is performed and then recognized. When you freeze, fumble, or fire back defensively, you are performing low status even if every word you say is factually correct. When you stay still and respond with precision, you are performing high status even if you say almost nothing. The room decides before you finish your first sentence. So if you cannot defend, cannot explain, cannot react, what do? You ask one question, and you ask it slowly. Here is the line. Say it with me. Wait. What exactly are you saying I did? Say it again. Wait. What exactly are you saying I did? Now say it one more time, and this time, strip every single emotion out of your voice. Wait. What exactly are you saying I did? Now hold that pause afterward. Let the silence sit there. Do not fill it. Here is why this sentence is so powerful. It does three things simultaneously that your attacker is completely unprepared for. First, it stops the forward momentum of the accusation cold. Most public attacks are designed to keep moving. They depend on you responding in a way that keeps the energy going. When you stop and ask for clarification, you interrupt the pattern entirely. The audience stops watching them and starts watching you. Second, it forces a repeat. And this is where the real psychology kicks in. When someone has to say an accusation a second time, they lose the adrenaline boost of the first delivery. The spontaneous outrage is gone. What is left is just the claim, standing on its own. And in the silence of that repetition, everyone in the room evaluates whether it actually holds up. Third, and this is the piece most people miss, accusers who are operating in bad faith cannot repeat themselves cleanly. Their version starts to shift. Details change. The confidence drops. And the room notices every single one of those micro signals without being told to look for them. You did not argue. You did not deny. You simply asked them to say it again. And that one move put you on offense without looking like you were attacking anyone. Now they have repeated themselves. Maybe they softened the language. Maybe they backpedaled slightly. Either way, you are no longer the person scrambling to catch up. You are the one in control of where this conversation goes next. Here is your second line. I want to make sure I am understanding your concern correctly. Read that back. I want to make sure I am understanding your concern correctly. That one sentence does something remarkable to your social position in that room. You are no longer the accused. You are the person doing the evaluating. You are the one deciding whether their concern is valid, whether it even makes sense, whether it deserves a response. That is not a defensive posture. That is leadership behavior, and people recognize it instinctively even when they cannot name what they are watching. You came in as the target. You just became the person at the top of the frame. Now here is the line that closes it. This is the sentence that makes the room shift physically. You will feel it when you say it, and you will start noticing high-performing professionals use some version of this in every high-stakes situation once you know what to listen for. Here it is. So tell me specifically, what outcome are you actually looking for here? Let me break this down word by word, because every single piece of this is doing work. So tell me, that is a direction. You are not asking for permission. You are not pleading for clarification. You are directing the next moment. You are the one saying where this goes. Specifically, that word is a filter. It separates people who have a real grievance from people who are performing one. When you ask someone to be specific, vague grievances collapse because vague grievances cannot survive precision. They were built on fog. Precision is light. What outcome? This is the reframe that changes everything. You have just moved the entire conversation from blame to strategy. Blame is backward-looking. It is emotional. It gives the attacker energy. Strategy is forward-looking. It is rational. It puts you in the room as the problem solver. And the room, every single person watching, starts asking themselves the same question you just asked out loud. What outcome is this person actually looking for? Actually. Do not underestimate that word. It is not filler. It is a signal. It tells everyone listening that you are interested in what is real, not what is being performed. It draws a line between the theatrical version of this confrontation and the factual one. And when you say actually, you are inviting people to stand on the factual side of that line with you. Now here is where something fascinating happens that nobody in your office will ever talk about openly. Many people who publicly call someone out are not looking for a resolution. They are looking for a reaction. They want the chaos. They want the emotional response. They want to see you shake because that confirms the story they have been telling about you inside their own head. When you ask them specifically what outcome they want, you are forcing them to either name a real one, which you can then respond to like a rational adult, or reveal that they do not actually have one. And in a room full of people, that revelation lands hard. They came in swinging, and ended up having nothing to say. You said 5 sentences and never raised your voice. Now let me give you something for the more difficult situation, because sometimes the person who blindsides you is not making a one-time mistake. They are a repeat attacker, someone who has decided you are a useful target and comes back to that well whenever there is an audience. These are the people who will soften their accusation when you ask them to repeat it, walk it back just enough to seem reasonable, and then bring it again next time. For that person, there is a more direct technique I want to introduce. I call it the position lock. The position lock works because it names what is happening without dramatizing it. It sounds like this. I have heard different versions of this concern before, and my position has not changed. What I need to understand is whether you want to actually resolve this or whether this is something else. This line works because it does two things at once. It signals that you are not new to this, that you have not forgotten the history, and that you have not been rattled by the pattern. And it puts a direct question on the table that is very uncomfortable for someone operating in bad faith. Are you here to solve something, or are you here to perform? You are not accusing them. You are simply asking. But everyone in the room knows exactly what the question means. A word of caution. This line is only for situations where the pattern is established and visible, and where you can deliver it with complete calm. If there is any heat in your voice, any edge at all, it will read as aggression, and you will lose the frame you just built. The position lock is a precision instrument. It requires you to be controlled in a way that is almost uncomfortable to watch. Now let me bring you back to the 3 core lines because repetition is how these become automatic. Automatic is what you need in the moment because the moment does not give you time to think. Say this. Wait, what exactly are you saying I did? Now say it again, slower than that. Wait, what exactly are you saying I did? Feel the pace of that. The slowness itself is the signal. Now say this. I want to make sure I am understanding your concern correctly. Say it again. I want to make sure I am understanding your concern correctly. Notice that there is no emotion in that sentence. It is not warm and it is not cold. It is measured. Measured is power. Now say this. So tell me specifically, what outcome are you actually looking for here? Say it again. And this time, imagine there is a room full of people watching you say it. So tell me specifically, what outcome are you actually looking for here? Did something shift in how you were holding yourself? It should have. That sentence changes your posture before it changes anything in the room. That is not an accident. When you know exactly what you are going to say, your body communicates that certainty before a single word leaves your mouth. Here is the thing that most communication advice gets wrong. It tells you what to say, but not how to make it automatic. And automatic is the only version that works under pressure because pressure collapses preparation. If you have to think about this in the moment, you are already too slow. The reason these lines need to live in your body, not just your brain, is because the moment of being blindsided does not feel like a moment where you have options. It feels like a wall. And the only way to have options in that moment is to have practiced so many times before it that your mouth already knows where to go while your nervous system is still catching up. The goal is not to win arguments. The goal is to never let an argument define you. When you respond to a public ambush with stillness, with a question, with the posture of someone who is evaluating rather than reacting, you are doing something that the room will remember long after they have forgotten what the accusation even was. You look like someone who could not be rattled, And in professional environments, that reputation, the reputation of being someone who keeps their composure when things get ugly, is worth more than almost any credential you could put on a resume. If this gave you something useful, hit subscribe, because next week I am getting into something that a lot of people do not want to talk about, but probably should. What to do when the person blindsiding you is your own manager. The dynamics are completely different, the stakes are higher, and the standard advice will get you in serious trouble. You do not want to miss that one. I will see you there.